Hey, good morning, everybody. We are so glad that you joined us. We are celebrating this week. It's National Consumer Protection Week, and all of the organizations you see listed we work together, and we all want to see you protected. We hate hearing about you being taken advantage of, and unfortunately, we hear it far too often. So let's go through some introductions here. And let's see, I want to start with the ladies first. Miss Hillary, can you tell us what you do and who you are representing?
I can. Thanks, Jason. My name is Hillary Williams Thomas. I'm the Associate State Director of Advocacy and Outreach with AARP Georgia. So I'm a registered lobbyist, but I'm also the lead for our fraud work.
Outstanding, outstanding. Thank you so much for being here. And let's go, Miss Anna, will you tell us uh, a little bit about your job and who you're representing?
Sure. Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Anna Burns, and I am the director for the Southeast region of the Federal Trade Commission. And the Federal Trade Commission's mission is to stop unfair or deceptive acts or practices in the marketplace. So this means anything from the robocalls that you get on your phone every day to fraudulent advertising in the marketplace, and also privacy issues. So thanks so much again for joining us.
Awesome. Let's go to Mr. Conroy. Mr. Conroy, tell us who you're here representing.
Sure. Thanks, Jason. My name is Sean Conroy, and I'm the Communications and Outreach Coordinator for the Georgia Department of Law, also known as the Attorney General's Office, Consumer Protection Division. And we're the state level consumer protection organization, and we do enforcement. We enforce a number of consumer protection laws, the primary one being the Fair Business Practices Act. And we also do educational outreach. So there's two prongs that we focus on to protect consumers and legitimate businesses, because if you have businesses that are not behaving, they're hurting legitimate businesses. And so that's how we want to help consumers.
Outstanding. And Mr. Collins, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Kelvin Collins with the Better Business Bureau, and we serve, we're the Better Business Bureau serving the Fall Line Corridor. We serve 77 counties in Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina, with offices in Columbus, Macon, and Augusta. So when you need to check on a business, leave a customer review, or even file a complaint on a business, we're the ones that you call in this area. And also very honored to be a part of this conference with everybody, because we're the only non-governmental agency. Well, no, AARP is not government.
That's right. That's right.
It's a different one. So honored to be a part.
Well, outstanding, guys. And so now that you know everybody, let's get right into our presentation. And I want to, so I see this a lot, and with a lot of seniors, they might be on a fixed income, or, with Corona and everybody having to stay at home order, we could make a little bit more money. It's never hurting to make a little bit more money. And so I'm getting this, and I believe it seems wrong, but it really seems really nice. Anna, can you tell us what this might be about?
Sure, Jason. Well, as Jason said, especially during these times where people either have health concerns or safety concerns, or they've been facing unemployment and are looking to work from home scams are on the rise. And what does that mean? So there's several types of work from home scams. It could be a reshipping scam, where you are sent a lot of times high-end electronics, and are told to package and send them somewhere else. You could be recruited to be a mystery shopper, where you're told to pay for lists in order to get mystery shopping gigs, to be a personal assistant to somebody, or to even wrap your car with an advertisement for a company, being told that you'll be reimbursed for it. But one thing that all of these work from home scams have in common is that you're generally asked to either pay money up front to the company in order to get the work, where you're sent money and they're telling you to use that money for the work at home scam, but then for some reason they ask you for the money back. And what this does is this money is being used a lot of times. It's basically money laundering. They have stolen equipment. They have stolen electronic goods. They're using your name so that you'll send them somewhere else so it can't be traced back to them. And the same thing for money. In fact, one of the things that we're seeing is that fraudulent unemployment benefits are being used for these mystery shopping scams or for work at home scams. Money is being sent to the person saying, hey, here's your first paycheck, or here's money for you to purchase goods. And these jobs seem really legitimate. I mean, they're on legitimate company websites, and person is essentially at the end of the day is out of money. So it's something that we've seen on the rise, and it's something definitely to look out for. But the bottom line is, if you're being asked to pay or being told that you need to pay in order to do a job, it's probably a scam.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way. And Mr. Collins, you're with the BBB. I'm sure you see a lot of businesses doing, interactions. Would you say that we need to, pay first, or how do we need to protect ourselves as far as payment goes?
Well, the payments that you provide, always step back and think about how they're asking you to pay. Are they asking you to pay in a way that's unusual? For instance, if you owe the IRS and you get that dreaded IRS call, are they going to ask you to pay with an Apple iTunes card? I can assure you that no, they're not. The IRS doesn't do that. But we also see a lot of people that, if they get into the work at home scams that Anna was talking about, they're told that they can take these checks in and be a accounting person. So you take these checks in, you deposit them, and then you forward everything other than your pay. And we get tons of these checks where consumers will send them to us, and they're counterfeit checks. And many times it will take a couple of weeks before it comes back as a counterfeit check. In the meantime, you've taken that, you've deposited it, and then you wire transferred or somehow transferred some money over using a cash app or something. And when the check bounces 2 weeks later, guess who gets to reimburse the bank? You. So always ask questions when they're asking you to use a gift card, use a prepaid debit card, wire transfer, or now the popular thing are these cash apps.
Wow. So you're telling me that they can send me a check. I can take my portion out of it. I deposit the check. I do everything they ask for. I'm responsible for the bad check, probably written on a closed account. I'm responsible for the amount, and then the fees involved too. Is that what you guys are telling us?
Yeah, once the money goes into your account and then you spend that money, when that check comes back as a counterfeit or a stolen check and the bank takes their money back, you're responsible for those fees. You're responsible to pay the money back, because you'll never find those people that you wire transferred that money to.
Well, guys, the scams seem very real, because they called me from a Washington, D.C. number. I saw it on my caller ID, Hillary, and it just seemed like it was, they were from the Social Security office, and the caller ID said so.
And I say these call spoofs are getting worse and worse. And now it's not even just the incoming calls. Sometimes it's the outgoing calls that you're making as well. Sometimes, even if you do call the Social Security Administration, or you do call one of your utility companies, you call Comcast for cable and you make just one number off. So if it's an 866 number and you do 886, or, 877 and you do, 887, one number off can cause you to get to a number where somebody is looking to take your money from you. And just so everybody knows, the Social Security Administration is not going to call you. what they're going to do, they're going to use that address that they have on file for you. They're going to send you some emails. Same thing with the IRS. They're not calling you. Now, from time to time, you might have some type of investigation going on, and it'll be a very specific person that you worked with or a caseworker or something like that. But in general, you're not going to get these calls asking you for your social security number. You're not going to get these calls asking for this information. And you do have to be very, very careful about that. And even when you're calling out to people, be very careful about giving out your information. Otherwise, there'll be some dangerous people. I mean, for me, the best way that I feel is if you do get that call, say, can I call you back? You know, if you do get a call from the Social Security Administration, call them back and say, I'm going to call you back. And if they try to tell you, no, 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 you can't call us back, then it probably is a scam. But try to call them back instead of sitting there and just giving that person the information. When I was younger, before I worked in fraud, I did get a call from the IRS and I was terrified. And I called back and I sat on hold for about an hour and a half because I was at my desk working. So it did take a long time. The IRS said, we don't call people. But you have to be careful.
Well, okay. So, and
I
I
think Sean
agree.
was trying to say something.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask Sean about. Hey, good thing is, Sean, IRS did not call me. I have been fortunate enough that on my Facebook Messenger, I have been selected for a government grant, and so that way I'm good, right?
Well, I'll tell you, Jason, and Hillary touched on this too. The scam artists will use high pressure to just to force the issue with a consumer. Once they get you on the phone, they're going to try everything to keep you on until they are able to get that personal or financial information out of you. And just like the Social Security scam, the scam artists are doing grant scams. They may say that I'm from the federal government and you're eligible for a federal grant, or it could be a scholarship too. And there's a fee involved. Maybe the number that appears on the phone is a spoof number. And for our viewers today and our listeners, take this information and share it with others. I think the knowledge that caller ID can be spoofed is rising, but I don't think everybody fully understands that the caller ID can be compromised. They can show whatever number they want on it. So be aware of that. And as far as grants go, the federal government has a website, grants.gov, where they list all the different grants. So there's one official federal government area to look at. So just be very suspicious when you get that email on the Facebook Messenger. And that's a way that they'll try to use social media. Maybe they'll contact you via Facebook Messenger. Maybe they'll look at your LinkedIn profile to try to, and they're mining information about you. So the amount of information that we have out there about our interests online, our relatives, the scam artists can learn something about you and use that as a hook to try to trick you into something. Jason, you may be a sports, be interested in sports. So they may learn that about you. And when you get that Facebook Messenger post, they may mention about, try to, mention a favorite sports team of yours while going into the ruse. So whether we like it or not, a lot of information is out there about us.
Well, I know it'd be a scam because my sports team is not doing well at all right now. And so that would eliminate that. But, Miss Hillary, I went and I took all of you guys' advice and, I double checked this Facebook guy out. And so I went to a website. And so I was looking on a website and, it's legit, right? Just a good looking website. I recognize the business and, how do you protect yourself? There can't be imposter website, can there?
Of course there can. And, even myself, the biggest thing to me about being a victim of fraud is making sure other people know how it happens so it doesn't happen again. And even myself, and they say, this is what I do. I work on the Fraud Watch Network. And, at the beginning of COVID, I wanted to get my nails done. Nail salons were closed in Georgia and it wasn't a safe place to go. So I clicked on a website that I saw on Facebook. They look really great. The product looked great. And I figured, I'm an intelligent person. I can paint this on and dip my finger in the powder and figure it out. But what I didn't do is what I'm going to tell all of you all to do. Google the website. Go back and Google that website and put review and see what happens. Is if I had done that, and I mean, I'm not going to say I'm ashamed to say it. I didn't really have time. I just kind of clicked away and wasted my $100 on this bag of products that was garbage. But if I had Googled the website, which is actually what I did after it took 2 months for me to get my product, it was a ton of information and all said fraud, 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 never got my materials, never got my materials. And, finally, after I got the materials and I tried it and it burned my fingers, I went back and I looked to see quality, and people were saying the same thing, that it was burning their fingers. So, I had a bag of stuff that I paid $100 for, and who knows what those chemicals were. And I just put them straight in the trash because it wasn't worth anything. But yeah, technology really has made our lives easier, but it's also made it easier for these scammers to come up with these really professional sites and these, professional looking products. And, when you see something on Facebook or on social media and you look at it, you're like, that looks really good. It looks exactly like what I get at the nail salon. It's the same powder. You dip your finger in it. That's great. And then, you go ahead and you spend your money, and 2 months later, you're like, okay, where is the product? It doesn't take that long to ship. I can drive to New York in 2 months. So
All right.
where is my
So
stuff?
if I was to buy those nails, and I'm just thinking like, okay, because I've bought some counterfeit products online before, I didn't realize it because everything looked good. And, I'm buying from a major retailer, which I later found out allows their website to be used by third party vendors. So these third party vendors are then using this giant name and sending us counterfeit products. And so, um, man, I buy this and then I'm kind of stuck. Uh, is there an organization out there that can help me resolve some of these issues or cut it off beforehand?
So I would think that you're asking one of your colleagues that can help you with that.
I, Mr.
Yeah,
Collins, you got anything?
that's absolutely a great way to use the Better Business Bureau. If you receive something that's not what you ordered, or you never receive it, the main thing is to report. Like Hillary was talking about earlier, she came on to this nail scheme very early on, so there wasn't a lot of information. But as we got more information, there was more people reporting, and that's where you get the basis of anything that we are able to report on. The AG office or the Federal Trade Commission can do investigations. I know when the pandemic first started, we started receiving lots of complaints upon one address in our service area. And last I heard, we were between 40 and 60 companies using this one address, selling products coming out of China. The problem was this address was a gas station, and the gas station owner was sick of hearing from irate customers wondering where their product was or why their product was inferior. So, these are ways that scammers are going to take advantage of you very, very quickly. And believe it or not, they do watch the news. They know what's hot right now, and they are able to adapt to meet the needs that you're seeing at any given moment.
And it's amazing. And I'll piggyback on what Mr. Collins said. They even do this with charities, fake charities as well. And we know here in working with a lot of different scams that only 26% of scams are reported because, maybe you feel ashamed or maybe you're scared that somebody's going to take your decision-making ability away. And so we only get 26% of what actually happens. And last month alone in our scam tracker, it was a low month. And then you can find our scam tracker at bbb.org. And we were over $4,000, or we were right at $4,000 lost. And that's a low month. So don't be a part of that list. Now, another thing that happened, I tell you what, I want to talk about this because, you know, we're coming right off of Valentine's Day, and it was February. It was the month of love. And, you know, sometimes, you know, with COVID, you get a little lonely. And with the way the internet is nowadays, it's easier to meet people. And, you know, you've got these different dating websites. And, you know, maybe I don't like being alone. And so, y'all see, Hillary, you see any problem with, you know, dating profiles or anything like that?
We've seen a lot of that. And, you know, COVID has exacerbated the situation because people are separated and people are alone and they want more of that social connection to someone. And it's not to say that you cannot date online. You can date online. I know plenty of people who have dated, married, and have kids that met online. You have to do it safely and you have to be very careful what you're doing. So, the same thing we're saying about the rest of these scams, Google it. If you see this picture and it looks perfect on social media or on one of these dating sites, put the picture in Google, Google the person's name, try and figure out whatever you can do. Investigate this person, and it's okay to investigate this person. If you Google my name, you're going to come up with AARP and a whole bunch of workshops that I've done or whatever else, but I'm a real person. Try and do that to that person. You know, I don't know if any of you have your guilty pleasures of TV. You know, I do, one of which is the show where people meet people from overseas, and you know they bring them here and eventually they have to get married within a certain amount of days. As AARP, we can't mention specific names. They have to get married within a certain amount of days or the other person does not get their visa. And within the show, the woman met someone online and he told her that and yes, I know all of you are about to start laughing. He told her that he was an African prince and that he was currently in school in Alabama, and he was, you know, in love with her and all these things. And he had a child who was someone who was no longer living. And she decided to Google him, and she found out that while he had lived in Alabama at one point in time, the child lived in Alabama with a woman who was very much so alive, and he was actually in Vietnam, and had been for quite some time doing whatever he was doing in Vietnam. So, you know, you really have to be careful with the people that you decide to date. You really need to make sure that you're doing a full background check on them and don't do what she did, which was decide to date them anyway. Because you know she really just wanted that social connection, and there are definitely other ways of finding social connections. If you're looking for some events and some social connections and some book groups, go to aarp.org/near you. We've got book clubs and cooking classes and anything else online you can think of. You can do that safely without worrying about having a scammer get to you on the dating sites. But yeah, Google the people and talk to your friends. If you have people that are trying to get you to come off the dating site really early, that's something to watch out for. And the big one that we tell people to watch out for is the I love you. You know, when you met somebody for 5 minutes, they probably don't love you, but you might be wanting and needing of love, and you've decided that's what you want to hear from them. So be very vigilant.
So you know, Sean, Kelvin, are y'all seeing these romance scams? Is there anything else that you would like to add to these?
Well, just to remember that romance scams, you do see those happen often. There's usually a lot of money that is lost in these. But typically, the romance scams are not short games. These guys are in it for the long game. They're going to groom you over months and make you truly feel like you're in a relationship. and they may ask for money here and there, and pretty soon it's going to be a lot of money because there's always going to be some emergency. There's some reason why they can't meet. And you just have to remember that with scams, the scams that are reported to us really is the tip of the iceberg. But when we poll people that report the scams and try to find out why they engaged and lost money with a scammer, we usually hear three things. The scammer looked so official, or there was a time crunch, or he seemed so nice. You know, those are the three things that usually pop up when we hear people losing money to a scam. And just remember that if I'm trying to separate you from your hard-earned money, I can be really nice and I can be really professional. And I'm going to put a time crunch on you because I want you to make that decision quickly and not think about it.
And Kelvin, you're talking about the time crunch. I don't know if Sean's office was the one that prosecuted the person in the Atlanta area. I feel like they were actually prosecuted. Someone, it was a romance scam. She said they were engaged. They were supposed to be buying a house together, and she gave him, I feel like it was over $100,000. It was some large amount of money to put a down payment on a house. And, you know, it was a time crunch. We need the money right now so we don't lose the house. And then he disappeared.
And in the past year, reports of romance scams from the FTC actually went up 50%, and the losses from those romance scams were reported from Americans at $304 million. So this is a prevalent scam. And really the bottom line is if you've never met the person in person, then you shouldn't be sending them money. And as Kelvin was saying, you know, they'll make a lot of excuses why you can't meet. And with COVID-19, we're hearing that a lot of times people will say, hey, you know, I want to meet, but we can't because of the pandemic. But they're also using that as an excuse to get money. You know, there's a family emergency, somebody's sick, I need funds to travel, I need funds to continue talking to you on the phone. And so if you haven't met the person, don't send them money. Just the bottom line there.
And just to emphasize, it's critical that these scams be reported because we don't know, law enforcement doesn't know that these scams occur unless someone tells us. So whether it's to the AARP, the FTC, the BBB, local law enforcement, report it to someone so we can get in the system and action potentially can be taken. Sometimes these scam artists are across the globe and it's very difficult to reach them, but you know, once, you know, if law enforcement's able to get them, they will.
And that's such a key thing is, you know, to reemphasize that we really all work very well together, and we try our best to share information. And so, you know, I can tell you that with the BBB, and I know with AARP as well, that when we get something, it bothers us and we want to see something happen. And, you know, the FTC and the, you know, the AG's Consumer Protection Division, you guys can do something about it if you know, and I know you do if you can. And so it's important to share this information. And what it all boils down to in some way, shape, form, and the reason why we're kind of staying on this one for a while, and it's a buzzword, and I'm probably sure that you've heard it a lot, but it is so serious, and especially in the state of Georgia, identity theft. And we've got the identity theft expert team here with us, and we're going to start at the top from identitytheft.gov. And Anna, please tell us about identity theft.
Well, we used to see identity theft take the form of somebody going through your garbage and finding your personal information. But as we've heard about all of these scams, identity theft has really moved online. People are seeking your information on social media, or they are sending you emails, or they're even calling you on the phone, texting you, trying to get information from you. And these scams are sophisticated. As we were saying earlier, you know, these websites look professional. The people on the phone sound professional. We are seeing, you know, the scammers now know that people are checking to see, they know their caller ID could be spoofed, and that number popping up as the Social Security Administration is not actually the Social Security Administration. So they're going a step further. So they're doing things such as calling you and you saying, how do I know you're real? And they'll say, here, go to this website, or you can check, here's a number you can call. And their buddy is picking up the phone on the other side and answering it Social Security Administration, so that it sounds like a legitimate scam, and they're getting people's personal information that way. So really the bottom line is, if you never give out your information online, the Social Security Administration, as we said earlier, they're not going to call you, they're not going to text you, they're not going to reach out to you on Facebook. You're also, the scammers are doing things like mimicking other companies, imposter scams, where I got one yesterday. I got a text message that said that my American Express payment was late. Click on this link. And this is what I do for a living. I looked at the link and I almost clicked on it, but I know if I had clicked on it, they were either going to do one of two things. They were going to ask me for my personal information, like my Social Security number or my credit card number, so that they would have that to use for their own use, or that they were going to download some sort of malware onto my phone so that they could mine my personal information. So there are a couple of things that you should do. Go directly to the website if you have a question of the governmental agency that is asking you for information. If you get a call, hang up, call them back. Don't, as we said earlier, be persuaded by the immediacy of their request. Like, your Social Security number will be frozen unless you act immediately, unless you give me your full Social Security number. But if you do think that your information has been compromised, or if you find out that it's been compromised, go to identitytheft.gov. It is really a one-step shop to address your identity theft issues. It will take you through a series of questions. It will actually create an affidavit for you to submit to your local law enforcement or to the IRS, so that you can work through your identity theft issues. But just be aware and don't give out your personal information online.
And there's a lot of times you don't even know that identity theft has happened. We're here right in the midst of tax season. Are any of you seeing any, tax related identity theft scams?
We're certainly seeing tax identity theft related scams. We have heard reports, especially with so many people filing for unemployment these days, that people are getting notifications that they have received unemployment funds and that they actually haven't, that it was opened in their name, and that the people did one of two things. They had it sent directly to their bank account, or people were getting funds deposited into their own bank account, and then were getting calls supposedly from the IRS or the Department of Labor saying that those funds had been incorrectly deposited and that they needed to return them. Same things with tax refunds, is that they were getting calls saying, hey, your tax refund has been accidentally sent to your account. You need to return that to us because you weren't supposed to get it. If you do file your taxes online, if somebody has already filed taxes in your name, you will get a bounce back saying that it's a duplicate request. That generally means that somebody has already filed something and that you need to contact the IRS and go to identitytheft.gov to take care of the situation.
All right. So, but what do we do? Because now they're messing with my taxes. I hear about all these hacks. What do we do?
Well,
Jason, one of the things to remember is we're coming off of 12 months where there has been the greatest potential for identity theft than any other time because of the economic impact payments, the stimulus payments coming in. Everybody watches the news. They know that, hey, there was the first round, there's the second round, now there's the third round. Well, all a scam artist has to do is contact someone and say, hey, there's a hang up with your next stimulus check, need to get some information from you. Well, you're wanting that money, so you very likely might give it out. And the thing to remember is the time to educate yourself and determine how you're going to answer that situation is right now. Because when we do surveys, we found that 30% of people who don't lose money to a scam artist, they don't lose that money because they educated themselves beforehand. They had heard about a particular scam, and then when it occurred, it was like, oh, I've heard about this before. So take the time now to figure out, okay, how am I going to answer this question if someone calls saying that they are with the IRS or they're with the Social Security Administration? And I think we touched on it earlier, but I just want to go back. When we talk about telephone numbers, they will always say, you can call this number and verify I am who I say I am. Don't call that number. Look up the number online, look it up, if it's your credit card company, look at the back of your credit card, because they will give you the number to their cohorts and get you to call, and they'll verify, yes, we are the IRS. And we were doing a webinar last week, and one of the things I mentioned is if you get through to the IRS in less than 15 minutes, that's a red flag that you're not really calling the IRS. You're going to be on the phone for what Hillary was talking about, an hour and a half sometimes. So just use those things and educate yourself now.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing that, that goes right along with a scam that I'm seeing right now, guys, and that's, of course, with COVID. I want to have a good face mask. I want to do things right. And I want to, protect myself. Sean, are you seeing anything?
Yeah, we are seeing scams online, and it again, and this is another area where you need to go to the legitimate website. You need to be aware that if you're just Googling for a particular product, you may fall into a tech support scam where your pop-up window appears on your screen and it says your software is out of date, or we've locked your computer, you need to call this number. So make sure you're going to legitimate websites. We're also seeing, along with something new that's happening with the vaccine rollout, we put out a warning. We're getting people are taking selfies and they're placing, that they got the vaccine, and the information that they're posting includes their birth date, which is a key piece of information if you want to commit identity theft on a person. If you know their birth date, that is certainly a tool that can help. So be very careful if you're, posting information. And this is all new. Who would have thought that through? That wait, maybe I don't need to post this right now. And now the centers are sometimes giving I've been vaccinated stickers out to people. So that is something new. And going back to the IRS issue, just like we talked about with Social Security, the IRS, they're going to spoof the call. They're going to show on the caller ID that it may be them that's appearing, but there are steps that you can take to protect yourself. And that includes the IRS offers an identity protection pin that you can obtain to help lock down your information. And that's available you can look at that up on the IRS website yourself.
Well, that's great information. And guys, we know with identity theft that, again, we might not know it's happening. It could be happening behind our back. And so in the state of Georgia, you're actually allowed 2 free credit reports a year. And we encourage you, please pull your credit from all 3 credit bureaus and use a website called annualcreditreport.com.
Jason, you're exactly right. Under state law, you get 2 free credit reports, and under federal law, you get 1 free credit report for a total of 3 altogether. So take some time to look at those credit reports and take some time to look in detail at your monthly statements, or look at them online too. Sometimes this con artist will try to charge us a small charge on your credit card to see if it works. And then they'll later on down the line, they'll go for more big ticket items. But the sooner that you catch that, the sooner you can resolve it. And so a small problem becomes a big problem.
Yes. And then if you're watching, if you open up the chat function, you'll see that a lot of these, we're trying to post every web address that we mention in our chat box so that you have it at your disposal. Anna and Hillary, are y'all seeing any COVID related scams in your prospective organizations?
Well, Jason, as you said earlier, yes, we definitely are. I mean, since the start of the pandemic, when there were shortages of certain supplies, toilet paper, paper towels, face masks, there's people taking advantage of that situation. And one of the things we're seeing right now with face masks is because new guidance has come out and people are trying to find, N95 masks a lot of times, is that people are ordering these masks on what they think are, legitimate big seller websites, but that are actually being sold by third parties. And those third parties are not legitimate. And so they're making these orders, and what they're getting is either a counterfeit mask or the mask is never being delivered. So it really goes back to the advice that Hillary gave earlier, is that when you see the name of the seller, put their name into Google. Google it with review, as Hillary said, and also complaint, because a lot of times these people will make their own reviews and they will pop up first. But if you put in complaint, you're going to see a lot of what's actually going on with that company.
I will say that, BBB has a review system in which every review is actually investigated. And so at any time, we've seen Facebook boutiques pop up, and we've seen, different things pop up. So we would encourage you to absolutely use bbb.org. And you can even file a complaint, customer review, and you might even see this webinar, a video of it later. So
Jason,
yes, sir.
If I could jump back for just a second, y'all were talking about that in Georgia, you get 2 free credit reports. Part of the CARES Act that was passed last year allows you to get a credit report, one from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies every month. So you can get more now than you could. So that may go away at some point, but you're able to get more of those, and it may be weekly. Sean, I'm not sure.
Kelvin, I'm so glad you caught that. It is, my understanding, it is weekly, and I understand it goes through April of 2021. Will that be extended? We'll see, but that's the latest information I have. So thank you very much for catching that.
But isn't it going to hurt my credit? I've always heard that the more you pull your credit report, doesn't it hurt your credit?
No, not at all. You can pull your credit report yourself all you want to. They're looking, the only hard inquiry that's going to hurt you is if you go to the car dealership, you go to the bank. But if you check your credit report, it does not affect your reporting whatsoever. So you're not going to ding your score.
And a lot of people are also getting free credit reporting if their personal information has been given out in a data breach. And so if you do get an email, or a notification saying that you have the ability to get this as part of a data breach settlement, sign up for those, because that is worth a lot of money to get those credit reports, which, and allows you to go through and make sure that your identity hasn't been compromised and that you're being protected. And I don't think enough people take advantage of that. And it's a great service. I had somebody whose identity was given out in a data breach, went through their credit report and found out that their identity had been stolen, but it had been stolen 10 years ago. And somebody had built a swimming pool using their credit, and that they were being dinged for it every month. So that goes back to, I think, what Kelvin was saying, is check it frequently and go through it and do it as often as you can, so that you catch the problems before it snowballs into a bigger problem.
Outstanding.
Yeah, and while we're on that, still, remember that when you're checking your credit report, you can also have your credit report frozen. If you want to freeze your credit report, then that means that if someone steals your social security number and they go in and try to buy a new car, they're not going to be able to get access to your credit. So most places are not going to give them open any new credit if they can't access that credit report. So freezing your credit is a great step if you're not utilizing opening a lot of accounts and things like that. It's a great thing to do. And it does not affect your current credit cards or anything like that. They're still able to pull. It's only people can't pull the new credit on you. So great opportunity to do that and do it often, because like Anna was saying, if you find something and it is 3 months old, it's much easier to fix than if you find something that's several years old. And even if you have bad credit and you get these companies that say that they can help you fix your credit, you can do everything that they do. Nobody's going to fix your credit. So, just be very aware. And one final thing on credit, your credit score is not included in your free credit report. You will have to pay for that if you want to get that. But many credit card companies are now offering your credit score free. So check with them.
One thing to Kelvin's point, some of it's not even online that we've gotten reports from. Some of it's your family. So yes,
man,
definitely freeze your credit. One of my mentees, she's 27, I believe, and unfortunately, her mom knows her social security number is her mom, and she's now destroyed her credit twice. So definitely keep your credit frozen. I mean, even kids, parents, uh, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, keep it frozen and keep your number away from those people as well, because it's very difficult to get those things off of your credit. And of course, it's difficult for you to put your mom in jail, but I'm not above
yes.
that if you destroy my credit.
Yeah.
Well, over half of all identity theft happens from family member to family member. And we just got a question on chat. It said, do we need to check our credit even after we have a security freeze in place? So what would you say?
I think it hurts.
I would say you do need to check it, but not as often. You're going to know if you've got your credit frozen. You're going to know if anyone's trying to open up a new account. But yes, check it, every 6 months or so, and make sure that nothing has slipped through, because mistakes can happen. Nothing is foolproof. So yes, do that. And to Hillary's point, at one point, 51% of identity theft cases were from someone that you knew, a family member, a roommate, something like that. And believe it or not, around 60% of credit card fraud occurs while the credit card is still safely in your wallet. So these things are happening, and it's happening from things that are going on around you. But also, identity theft, we see it. It's the fastest growing white collar crime in the country, but we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. We keep talking about that because I sit with people in my office all the time that their identity has been stolen, but it was stolen from a grandchild or a child. And the only way that is going to, you're going to be able to get that prosecuted is if you turn your grandchild in, or your child, and people don't want to do that. So they end up just going along and not reporting it. So, you only see the tip of the iceberg on those cases.
And I want to piggyback on what Kelvin's saying. And this is probably one of the ugliest parts of our presentation is, unfortunately, we all have family, and not all of our family needs to be in our house looking at credit card applications or getting your social security number. So if you've got that family member that you can't trust, as tragic as that is, you need to shred that information. You need to hide that information. You need to get rid of it, because they're going to take stuff away from you. It's unfortunate, but we're telling you, over half of all identity theft happens from family member to family member. Now, I want to switch, and I want to encourage you, please submit questions via chat. We've got 2 more scams we're going to cover pretty fast, and then we're going to open this up for questions. And so we're loving your questions, and we've already got some interaction going back and forth. But Miss Hillary, outside of the dating scam, because I don't need to date anybody, but I was feeling a little bit lonely over COVID, and I thought about buying a new dog. That's easy and safe to do online, isn't it?
It can be, but it's the same thing with the nail services or anything else. You really need to investigate anyone that you're sending money to. We're getting reports of a lot of pet scams during COVID where people are seeing these really cute looking, purebred animals that they're willing to spend a lot of money on. And, I don't have a dog anymore, but those of you that do buy pets, these purebreds are outrageous. I've got purses that cost less than these purebred puppies that people are buying. And people are sending money to these so called breeders without really researching who they are. And the pet never materializes. They're never able to meet them. They're never able to ship them, which I wasn't sure that you could ship a dog without having some type of human travel with them. But oh, I mean, I guess you can maybe sort of. Sean is nodding his head, but we're
Yeah.
seeing we're being told that people are just sending the money and the pet never materializes. So the same thing. Investigate these people. Google these people and see who they are, and don't send money to people that you don't know. Tell them, yes, I want dog puppy number 4, and I will be there at your location on Saturday with a money order or whatever it is. Don't just send people money trying to buy anything, but these pets as well. And I see somebody in the chat the saying buying or stealing, because yeah, people definitely are stealing purebred animals because they're worth a lot of money. And even if people want to use them and breeding little mules and trying to breed other purebred animals.
And remember, it's not rude to ask questions. I think a
Yes.
lot of times we want to take what people are saying on face value, especially here in the South, but do your investigations. Ask that person questions, Google it to see if their answers match up with what you find online, and ask them for references who've bought other pets from them in the past and Google them too. So it's not a bad thing to look into the sellers of a puppy. In fact, you should do it before you send them any money.
And
Absolutely.
if they don't want to answer those questions, they're probably a scammer.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And another thing is with lost pets, people are going to call you up and say, "Hey, I found your dog," and they're going to describe it how you put out on Facebook. So hold some of the things back so that you can check and make sure that they have your dog before you send money to have it shipped back or anything like that, because scam artists are not too proud to take advantage of a situation. That's one of the reasons bereavement scams are so popular. If they can catch you when you're emotional, then you're more likely to fall victim.
So
And
that's
Kelvin, you brought up the bereavement scams. I know this is Georgia, but be careful depending on the state that you're in. It actually happened to my family. There are some half siblings that nobody really knew existed. And one of the other half siblings was pushing to get them put into the obituary, and nobody really understood why. But apparently, in Michigan, if you're listed in that person's obituary, you can file a claim on their estate. And that person did have young children, so the children had to give a portion of the life insurance money to the relatives who were able to get listed and who actually made a claim on that life insurance money. So be very careful with family members doing things around bereavement and obituaries and any of those things, and be very careful what you put into obituaries, because people will also use that money to try and that information to steal identities.
all right. So go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
And sadly, we are aware that the con artists do look at the obituaries too. So if they learn that someone has passed, they may contact a family member in an effort to scam them, because like we mentioned, it is a difficult time. And during those times, your senses may be vulnerable to getting scammed. So be aware that these crooks, they really do go to steps like that.
Well, that's 3 scams that we've named back. The romance scam, the pet scam, the bereavement scam. All of those affect your heart, and it's hard to walk away from it. But let's talk about one that affects our wallets, because Sean, my parents got a phone call from a EMC that said that their power was going to get shut off.
It's a classic utility scam. The con artist will call. They may come to the front door and say that your power is you have not paid your power bill, and if you do not get a gift card at the local grocery store or the local convenience store and read the numbers on the gift card to me, or give me your banking information, we're going to cut your power off this afternoon. And this scam targets not only consumers, it does target businesses as well. So imagine you're a store owner and it's lunchtime and things are busy, and you get this, or you're taking calls during COVID, and you get a call saying your electricity is going to be shut off this afternoon unless you pay this bill. So the con artist, it does affect EMCs. I noticed recently the Georgia Power put out on social media that they're seeing this scam again. And I'm going to play a short audio of a call. Let's see if I can get this to go.
Welcome to Georgia Power, a Southern company. Main menu. If you're calling about a power outage, dangerous condition, or for any other power problem, press 1 or say power problem. For billing or payment matters, press 2.
I hope all of you could hear that. That was the actual Georgia Power lady voice that was being used in a scam. The con artist went so far as to record the voice, set up a phone number where the consumer could call to pay the alleged debt. And it's just an example of how far the crooks will go. So one more area to be aware, and don't get caught up in the moment and be tricked into making a decision that you'll later regret.
That's right. And so what we want to do is we want to actually take some time, and I think we've covered a lot of stuff that's already in the chat. And while we'd love to be able to unmute everyone, we have a couple people. This Zoom is pretty full, so if you've got a question, place it in the chat right now. One question I saw earlier is, how do you freeze your credit? Is there a link with instructions? And Michelle, that works for our office, has put the links in there, taking you to the appropriate bureaus, but you need to do it on all 3 and not just one. And let's see, what about those people who call representing known virus protection companies saying our computers are vulnerable to viruses? This is scary to hear when you've crashed and lost your info. How many people, obviously you have a computer if you're on here, how many of you have problems with your computer? Raise your hand. That's right. So how hard is it to say, we've got problems? Does, let's see, Anna, will you tell us kind of about, it's called a tech support scam, isn't it?
It is, and it takes a few different forms. Either you'll get calls from people saying that your computer has viruses, and they'll represent that they are from Microsoft or Windows, and they tell you that something has popped up on their end, telling them that you need to fix something on your computer. Or we also see it online that you'll get a pop-up on your computer itself saying that they've identified a virus and asking you to call a number. But what these have in common is that Microsoft is not calling you to tell you that you have a virus on your computer. You are not getting a pop-up on your computer from a legitimate company telling you that you have a virus and that you need to call this number. And what they try to do is they will then try to get your information. They will try to get into your computer system saying, hey, we need to clean these viruses for you. And they will do things, either they will charge you a lot of money for it, and they're not actually doing anything, and they actually haven't identified any viruses, or they are trying to get your personal information to use in the future, or they're downloading malware onto your computer. And in some cases, they'll even freeze your computer and telling you that you need to pay them either through a gift card or through Bitcoin in order to unfreeze it. So be aware don't take these phone calls. If they do, and even if it pops up saying Microsoft in your caller ID, as we heard earlier, caller ID can be spoofed. And don't let these people get into your computers and take your personal information or take your money.
Absolutely. And we're running out of time here. And what we've got a couple of questions here in chat. And one is an issue with a builder. I would encourage you to go to bbb.org and you can submit your complaint there. And your Amazon bill, you got an email stating your Amazon bill. That is definitely one we need to look at, because that sounds like an identity theft issue. And so what I want you to look at your credit card statement, and you may need to go to identitytheft.gov. However, we have come to the end of our webinar, and we thank you all for attending. We will post this video, a copy of this video, on our website, and we'll send it to the prospective organizations. Thank you so much, Hillary, AARP. Thank you, Sean from the Consumer Protection Division, Anna Burns from Federal Trade Commission, and BBB, thank you for all that you do. And ladies and gentlemen, here is our contact information in case you ever need us. Literally, we sit back and wait for you we want to help. So we will take it at any time. Is there any final words any of you would like to say?
I would like to end with, I know we've talked about so many negative things, and it's just to get you thinking. People are out there, they will try to take care of take away your money, but it's only up to you to take care of what you own, keep your money, and at some point live your life. Just be aware, use the websites for AARP, FTC, the Attorney General's office, and also BBB, and study. That way you can protect yourself.
Exactly.
And I'd like to add that take the information that you've learned today and pass it on to your friends and family, that we all really do need to look out for and educate each other. And if we can stop these scammers from ever getting our information or our money, that goes a long way to solving the problem.
That's exactly right. Well, you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much to our presenters. And y'all have a great rest of the day.